All right. All right. We're going to run through our X factors here. We do this every year, but it's still important to talk about these things because they have a lot to do with your success when it comes to weight loss, to getting stronger, to actually feeling good. So you want to be able to work out and do the things you want to do. So a lot of times we just, it's easy just to focus on what we're eating, how we're working out, but we forget about how important these things are. And a big one is sleep. And more, some important things about sleep is that good sleep. I mean, we always think about no one feels good when they're lacking sleep. We know that, but what are some things that are going on that we never really think about? Well, last year being what it was, one of the big things with good sleep is it does help boost your immunity in your body, which is very important because you can't make progress if you're sick. But I know that's top of mind for everybody in these times. Um, Number two is there's a big effect on how your brain functions with sleep, and I always kind of liken it to like it's like sometimes when your cell phone gets really low and it's on like 1%, 2%, and a lot of your applications don't work well when your battery power gets too low. Well, it's the same thing with your brain, and just your brain can't work effectively because you're basically putting your brain on a charger at night. So one of the things that is affected when you don't get enough sleep is productivity, memory, and alertness. And thinking about we all drive every day, we all need to be alert, and when we're tired we're putting ourselves at more risk that way. From a cardiovascular standpoint, getting more sleep also helps strengthen your heart. Studies have shown that as well, and then also hormones that are really important. So hormonal release in the right direction. So when we sleep adequately, what happens is our body releases levels of human growth hormone, which for women is really important too. That's what's one of the hormones that helps us to burn fat and maintain or add lean muscle mass, as well as testosterone, which is more important for us guys, but also is present in women. And I actually do have a client who does have a female client who does have testosterone problems, and so you want to be able to sleep good because your body can't release these hormones in optimal amounts when you don't have enough sleep. Um, the other thing too is weight gain prevention, and we're all concerned about our waistlines and how does sleep affect that. Well, when you deprive yourself of sleep, it has been shown that you can actually create a unstable blood sugar environment, and we talked about in the nutrition thing with insulin. So one of the other ways is when you don't sleep enough, you're going to raise levels of the hormone cortisol, which is going to dump more sugar into your system, which is going to create that unstable blood sugar, which can create that pre-diabetic or that metabolic resistance syndrome as well. Plus, when you don't sleep a lot, there's another hormone called ghrelin, and ghrelin is a hormone that tells your body you're hungry. So when you don't sleep as much, your ghrelin levels tend to elevate more, and when you have elevated levels of ghrelin, you're going to have more cravings and hunger. And that just sets you up to make not the best choices for yourself. So hormones can be really powerful. All you women know that more so than us guys. But hormonal control is a big part of why we want to sleep well. And then the other part is, I talked about the brain for memory and for productivity and for alertness, for staying out of danger. The other thing is improving in the gym. Like, why do you feel so strong one day and the next day like the same weight feels like it's 50 pounds heavier? Well, that has to do with your central nervous system's ability, where you're the state of your central nervous system. And if your central nervous system is depleted, much like I talked about the cell phone when the battery power is low, that's not just going to affect your thinking and your memory and those things, but it's also going to affect how your muscles fire. You got to remember, muscles fire, joints operate. The nervous system's like wiring for your house. I mean, you could have all the lights you want in your house, but if you don't have wiring to them, they're not going to work. Well, the same thing for your muscles. If you don't have the wiring working well, you're not going to get the electricity to the muscles that you need to. So whether you're running, lifting weights, doing something physical out in your yard, your performance will be much, much better if your central nervous system is well charged, and that comes from sleep. And so a lot of times when people aren't getting results in the gym, even though they're eating seemingly good, they're working out regularly, a lot of times they're just not getting enough rest. All right. So you have to listen to that piece is remember your body recovers during rest. And that's your body's where it does sleep is where your body does most of its work when it comes to repairing yourself. I mean, basically what we're doing with the workouts is we're creating controlled damage in your body. And then we're getting your body to respond to that by building your body back up so it can react to that damage next time it comes back. And that's why we keep increasing the weight, because now your body's ready. Let's say you're using 20 pounds. Now your body's kind of prepared itself for 20 pounds. Well, now if we're going to create new stimulus, new muscle, we have to go a little bit higher. Now we got a little more stress. Your body's only set for 20 pounds. Now it's at 25. Now it's got to create an adaptation to that. But the only way it can do that is if you're getting adequate rest. And, it's not how hard you train, it's how well you recover. And sleep is a big part of that. One thing I learned about sleep this year, I think is important to mention too, is 90-minute cycles. Your body goes into 90-minute sleep cycles. So, I mean, how many people here have you sleep in on the weekend maybe, and let's say you get like 8, 9, 10 hours of sleep and you feel really, really, you almost feel more tired than if you would have got 6. And the reason being is because sleep cycles can last, when I was reading, it's anywhere from 70 to 110 minutes, but generally speaking, most of them last around 90 minutes. So when you're thinking about what time do you get up in the morning, so let's say you get up at 6 a.m., is you want to try to do at least 4 to 6 sleep cycles, so they're 90 minutes apiece. But if you wake up in the middle of one of those sleep cycles, and typically, like I said, 90 minutes is going to be pretty typical of most people. So like, let's say you wake up at 8 hours and you feel tired, you might feel better at 7.5 hours because you're 30 minutes into the sleep cycle. So this is something to pay attention to. This is something actually I've started to pay attention to, because I was always like, well, we got to shoot for 7 hours. But actually I'm realizing if I can get 6, that's about on the sleep cycle. If I get 6 or a little over 6, I'm pretty good. And so some people are probably going to do better with 6, some maybe around 7.5, some at 9. But I would try to set your alarm or try to go to bed based on a 90-minute interval sleep cycle. So maybe it's 6 hours, 7.5 hours, or 9 hours, and kind of play around with that a little bit and see where that sweet spot is. I mean, there's something you can track and just see where you feel good. And I know, like when I was trying to get 7, I never could quite get 7, but I feel pretty good on 6. If I get less than 6, so for me, 6 or a little bit over, it seems to be right. But it took a little bit of trial and error on my part. When I saw this, it was kind of a revelation. Like, why is it sometimes on the weekends when I get to sleep in, I almost feel more tired and groggy? Well, my best guess is that sometimes we're in the middle of one of these 90-minute sleep cycles. And even though we're getting more hours of sleep, typically when you wake up in the middle of one of these, you're going to be more groggy. You're going to feel more tired and more out of it, versus if you get through one of these cycles and try to wake up after the sleep cycle's over before the next one begins. So a little tidbit is to say, okay, my sleep's been kind of off. What if I try to base it off of a 90-minute thing and see if that works better? Instead of trying to get 7, maybe I'll try with 6, or I'll try with 7.5 and see if that works a little bit better. So just think of that when you're setting up your sleep goal, and that your body does generally work on that cycle. But like I said, it can vary a little bit from person to person. So you might have to, it might be 7 hours and 15 minutes or something like that. But it's like anything else. If you track it and pay attention, you should get pretty close. You should kind of know where your sweet spot is. I know my wife needs about 9 hours if she's going to be good. And if I get more than 7, 7.5, I'm, like I said, 7.5 is probably the most, but that's a sleep cycle. That actually seems to be all right. But I know, like during the week, it was kind of nice to learn this, because I was always trying to get 7 hours, but with our kids and everything at night, it was really hard to get calmed down and get 7 hours of sleep. But I've kind of found that I'm okay with 6, and I generally function pretty well there. So just something to keep in mind when you're trying to get set. More is not always better, I guess, is the point there. Sleep hygiene. So things that you can do to get better sleep, because a lot of times people have trouble getting to sleep or winding down. I know myself, that's something I've had to work on, is my pre-bed routine. So the number one thing I think in today's world is the technology, is being a good rule of thumb is an hour off of technology, or get off technology an hour. TVs, iPads, cell phones, any of those things, typically they emit blue light, and blue light can stimulate the brain. Well, you don't want the brain overstimulated when you're trying to calm down and ratchet down for the night. Now, what you can do, we actually got these for my daughter, is if you are on technology at night a lot and you have to be, it's kind of a necessary evil for your work or whatever. Do have those blue blocker glasses. So my 9-year-old daughter actually has those. You can use the blue blocker glasses. You can find those. So you could even try to play around with some of those if you are using a lot of technology and you're like, you know what, I still got to check emails before I go in the morning. It's kind of one of those things I got to do. So either get off an hour before or try to get a set of blue blockers, but trying to get some of that blue light out of your system is a good one because that'll help the brain kind of really calm down. Typically what research shows is a quiet, cool environment, and dark too. That's one of the things, like this time of year, if you're not mindful, your brain sees the light on outside. So it's going to tell your body to wake up, stay awake. So you almost have to be mindful about how can I darken the environment so my body thinks it's time to go to bed. I know this is one of the things that we struggle with my mom is her body's so out of whack and she's always tired because she sleeps during the day and her body doesn't know when it's night and day. And we keep telling her that, you got to get your body accustomed to, you got to get it into those cues. And if you're telling your body, if you're trying to sleep during the day and at night, your body's kind of all in reverse. But most people, when it gets dark, your body's going to adapt to that. There's, like certain things that are going to set it off. But when it's light out this late, that's can be a tough thing to go to bed at night. So be mindful of that. Calming activities. I know for me, like one of mine is just reading before bed is always really good for me. I like it. It's good for my brain. About 10, 15 minutes of good reading usually does a trick. Other things, simple things you can do. The static stretching. So really light, easy stretching, not the best thing to do before a workout, but before bed, that can be a really good thing because that actually will settle the body down. Some hot tea. I know sometimes a good shower or bath really relaxes somebody before bed, but just to get into some sort of a routine is huge. And then also one of the things that can really throw somebody off is if you 5 days during the week, you get up at this time, but then you sleep way in on the weekends and you totally shoot your sleep cycle off on the weekends. That can really screw you up too. So your body likes rhythms, whether it's nutrition or sleep. So try not to vary your rhythm on the weekends too much. I know we had some neighbors move in that like to party, and I know like we try to go over there and be social because I went to high school with one of them, and they'd be up until 4 a.m. and they'd want designated drivers, and that's what time I get up during the day. So I remember when they first moved in, I had to start cautioning myself about going over there because I can't be going to bed at the same time I get up because I could actually take 2 or 3 days to recover from that. When you get that off, your body does not like, whether it's eating or sleep or anything, it does not like to be out of rhythm. So if you can create a rhythm, and so typically on the weekends, I still like to be up early, maybe not quite as early, but I don't sleep until like 8 or 9. Usually I get up at 4:30 in the weekdays, but on the weekends still like 5:30. I don't like to sleep in too much. So I've just learned that your body doesn't, if you start doing these crazy things on the weekend, whether it's eating or sleep, it takes a couple days to get back on track during the week. And then lastly is some supplements that can help. Melatonin can be useful. One thing with melatonin is because we're Americans, we think more is better. Melatonin, if you take more than I've seen people do this, if you take more than the recommended dose, you'll actually make you more awake. It actually works in reverse. So if you get a melatonin, you can stick with that. Just stick with the dose, the recommended dosage. Don't think because you're having a hard time falling asleep that you need more melatonin, because it'll actually give you the adverse effect. The other one is called the ZMA supplement, zinc, magnesium, aspartic acid. Zinc is very good for healing. Magnesium is a very calming mineral, and a lot of times stress kind of burns it out. A lot of athletes use this type of supplement. Advocare sells their nighttime recovery. That's basically what nighttime recovery is from Advocare. That is a good one I like to use. I actually like to combine it with our new company, with our sleep patches with melatonin. It works pretty good to knock me out. So if you have those issues, those are some things that can help in terms of a supplement thing. And the ZMA is, like I said, it's really popular with athletes because a lot of athletes use it because they train hard. But we also train hard in our jobs, in our lives. So don't discount yourself. If you have a lot of stress, it's worth looking into trying a ZMA supplement just to see if you find yourself sleeping better and getting better quality sleep, staying asleep longer. So that's the nighttime recovery. I know some of you guys have Advocare accounts if you want to try that one. We also have a sleep one with just melatonin and 5-HTP, which 5-HTP is good for the brain. It's actually a healthy brain chemical. It's like kind of a natural antidepressant. So ID Life has that one too. It's a little different than Advocare's, but there's a couple of those that you can try too. If you know, sometimes those can, I like those better than pharmaceuticals because basically melatonin is something your body produces. You just don't maybe get enough in your body doesn't produce enough. Like I'm on a pharmaceutical right now because my body doesn't send the signal for testosterone enough. So it just helps my body work better. So that's a few things I'm going to say about sleep. And then I want to switch to stress. So stress is not going to go away. I hear people say that when I'm less stressed out, then I'll do this, or I'm so, my life is so busy. It's like they're waiting for the magic land of make believe when there's going to be no stress, and we're going to have stress all through our lives. It's going to fluctuate. So it's not about getting rid of the stress. It's about more about, I think, learning to manage it more effectively. And we got to look at our nervous system, basically our autonomic nervous system. We've got the sympathetic, which is our fight or flight, which is where we're amped up. So in essence, it thinks we're either running from a tiger or we're getting ready to defend ourselves from a bunch of thugs behind a bar or something like that. It's your high alert, amped up. Typically, you're going to release more cortisol. This is what we're doing when we're doing workouts. And it's not a bad thing. Sympathetic's not a bad thing. You will exist there. The problem is we spend too much time in the sympathetic. And the other system we want to look at is the parasympathetic, which I would like to call is the rest and digest system. And that's the one we want to spend more time in, because when we're resting and digesting, we're recovering from our workouts, from life in general. And our cortisol levels aren't going to be elevated throughout the day, which is not going to work good if we're trying to lose body fat. So number one thing I put down here is why are people stressed is time and priority management. And I'm going to show you a couple things that I use here. I'm going to share the screen here. And this takes a little bit of extra effort, but believe me, it's worth it. So where's my thing here?
Eric, while you're getting that, there is an app that I downloaded on both my computers. I can put it in the chat. It's called f.lux, and it's like fluctuates the light on your computer screen. So you set your time zone, you set where you're located, and it changes the lighting on your computer screen based on what time of day it is. So like if I'm on my computer at 9 o'clock at night, I have like an orangish looking screen. You can see it change. So I'll put that in the chat. When you said those blue light glasses, that made me think of this. It's really effective.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. There's technology to offset the technology out there.
Yeah, right. Just what we need.
Kind of amped up. Here's something that actually I learned from one of my business coaching is this is called a brain dump. We can send this out to you guys. Sometimes it's good to just puke it all out, get it all out. What are you doing in a day right now? Take the sheet, carry it around. I need to do these every once in a while because I still get stuck in this rut. Is you'll get down into this. So you write everything you do in a day, everything you do in a week, because some things are weekly tasks, and then everything you do in a month. And then at the bottom, you can see, highlight all the things you can either drop. Sometimes we're doing things that just don't serve our purpose. Why are we even doing that? It's okay to say no to something or just get rid of it altogether. Delegate, this is a big one. So like today, I had a long day here. I have a 21-year-old stepson sitting at home doing nothing. And I said, I mowed the lawn last week. I said, you're not doing anything yet. You don't have to start your job. I'm delegating that to you today. So and even like last night, we had a volleyball game and I had my daughter take the trash out. Usually that's my job, but I've been working a lot more. So I'm like, the kids can help out. Even here you see how we delegate with the trainers. We help each other out. To run this business, even this small business, Tracy does a lot of things I used to do because I've learned to delegate better. And life is much easier when you can do that, or create a better system. Sometimes that's what it is, the system you have. And I've realized like some of my systems are flawed. But it's good to get these things down on paper and you see it says, talks about a job description. Well, you guys aren't running a business right now, but are there some things you could delegate out or get rid of or do a better job of managing? How do you manage these things? And sometimes it's just mismanagement, but if you get it, if you write it all out, a lot of times it's very free and you can see some things on there that maybe need to go or have somebody else take care of them. And that's like I own rental properties, and I've learned that sometimes there's something broke or I have to fix, and sometimes I'll fix it, but then other times I know like this is gonna like we just got ours up for sale, and my wife wanted us to paint it. I said, you know what? I don't want to go over there every night after work and paint it. I'll just pay my friend to paint it. He got it done in 2 days. It would have probably taken me a week or longer to paint that thing, and then I would have to do it after work, and I would come home late, and then I would come up to work, and then what quality of life is that? So learning to delegate and not realizing you have to do everything is a very freeing thing. It's one of the things, right now, I can just tell you straight up, as a business owner, I wouldn't be in business if I didn't learn this, if I wasn't delegating. When I first I did everything. And I started to create jobs here because I realized if this business was ever going to expand and grow and I was able to help more people, I was going to have to get some other people to take care of some stuff. Tracy's done a lot for me in terms of, I don't know the last time I went to the bank or, she knows a lot about the business, but it's nice to have that because then you can focus on what you're good at and not try to be good at everything. And that takes a lot of stress, realizing like you don't have to be good at everything. You don't have to do everything. And time is something we can't get back. So sometimes it's just worth, I'm going to pay some money, have somebody take care of this for me. And it's going to save me a lot of time and a lot of headaches. And so this brain dump is a really good activity to do when you feel like you're just kind of treading water, getting your head above the water. The other thing I like to do, and let's share this next thing, is daily action sheet. All right, so this daily action sheet, can you guys see this? So this is my daily action sheet. I fill one of these out for each day of the week. And so
Not there yet.
It's not there. Okay, let me see what I've got here. Let me do this. I know what I'll do. I'll stop the share.
Oh, you might have to do it.
Yeah, I got it. There we go. All right. So this is an individual thing I learned to do. Another thing was a great thing about having a coach. So us coaches have coaches too. But daily action sheet is awesome because it teaches you to be mindful about your days. Like a lot of people just spend their day kind of doing this, that. They don't really have a plan. Versus breaking things into 3 and having 3 top personal things you need to do. And so right now, like my top 3 is I get up in the morning, do my God time, do my meditation time, and then I go to bookend some stuff at night. And then my workouts, I'm doing this 75-day challenge in nutrition. So I have specific things I got to get done during the day for that. That's my exercise and nutrition piece. And then at night we do devotions and prayers, and that's really important. So these are kind of what I call non-negotiables. These are things that need to happen. And if they don't happen, it's only because there's some emergency or some reason why, because they make me be the best version of me. Now, business every day could look different. Sometimes we have a marketing project. Sometimes it's really about getting all the client notes and programs caught up. So everybody's caught up and up to date. Every day I try to just identify 3 things. And I've told other business owners about this because, a lot of people just kind of run from one thing to another, not getting really anything done or really working on things that are important. And so you'll kind of see like my things is I have it broken down, and then even like one thing I've learned to even talk about like house chores and projects is I'll do one thing a day. The other night I had to go get softener, salt, and furnace filter and all that stuff. That was my one thing. And what can I do today? What do I have time to do today? And then this just kind of lays my day out for me. Like, what am I going to be doing today in these categories? And then what are the top 3? So if something needs to get pushed back or cut out, just like I said, dropped for the day, it helps to make it easier if I list my top 3 things for the day. And sometimes with my business, really, there might only be 2. Some days it's like I have a busy family day today and I'm only going to do 2 things with my business today. It doesn't always have to be 3, but learning to prioritize and do these things, it just makes it a lot easier to get through your day and to let things go. Like sometimes the question is, does this really need to get done today? And sometimes we put this pressure on ourselves when we don't need to, because really, if the things we're stressing about aren't high priority, and a lot of times we're letting the high priority things be put on the back order to do busy work that doesn't really fill us up. So when you start to identify priorities, that's a really makes it a lot easier to order your day and to make decisions, because people are going to come at you and they're going to want you to do this. I had a guy last week who just keeps bugging me, and I just finally told him, I go, this isn't a priority for me right now. It's your priority, but it's not mine. And it's okay to say no and set boundaries. That's one of the other things that'll get your stress level down, is just to be assertive and not Minnesota nice, and just say, you know what, not interested right now, not a high priority for me. That's one thing. And then the other thing I say is, stress breaks. I've learned to do this too, is like especially when you have grinder days, just 10 or 15 minutes can make a huge difference. If you start feeling like you're just getting amped up, 10 or 15 minutes really helps reset the brain. A lot of times you're going to be more productive. A lot of times we try to power through and we just sit there, look at the computer, and we just blank. But a lot of times if you give yourself a little break, it's almost like it's hitting the reset button in your brain, and you come back and you're fresh and you're motivated and you're kind of reset, refreshed. You got the second wind. And these can be like, I like sometimes a little power nap, sometimes a walk outside if it's a nice day. Meditation can be really good. Breathing exercises. I know Betsy, who's in the Jumpstart, one of her things in Jumpstart, she started practicing Qigong. Qigong or Tai Chi, there's some of those, like they're gentle movement things from the Far East that if you watch people do them, you can just know like it's very centering and relaxing. Yoga. And there's also progressive muscle relaxation, where you actually go through and you tighten in muscle. So one of the things we do sometimes on the table, if we have a tight muscle, we'll have somebody squeeze it and then relax it, and that helps it relax. And so if you look up some of these things, there's tons of things on YouTube you can get. Progressive muscle relaxation is another great exercise. We did it back in college for a stress course I took in college. So just remember, like, excess stress, if you don't have a plan to deal with your stress, that's a lot of times what creates your depression and anxiety. And sometimes, honestly, like you find yourself, you're just like, man, I'm treading water here, and I'm just like, not even my workouts, I'm going through the motions, or I'm starting to skip them more. And that's the time to pull out the brain dump or start to reevaluate where you're at. I mean, this isn't like you're not going to arrive in this process. I know myself, I was getting pretty shaky with my boundaries here at work. And, not some of my personal stuff was starting to suffer. My workouts were kind of, they're there, but they weren't where I wanted them to be, and I was working, too many nights late, and then I'm not getting rest, and I was starting to feel it. And I had to reorder myself out. So it's something you got to keep in check in terms of being your best self. I always kind of look at the oxygen analogy is, when you're on a plane and the oxygen mask drops, they don't tell you to get the other person, get your own oxygen mask in place before you can help other people. Well, it's much like that in real life. Even in personal training here, it can, like a lot of jobs where you are helping people, you can get so far into worrying about everybody else that you start to neglect yourself. Well, then you start to notice your passion and your enthusiasm, your energy levels start to go down. And that really long-term will start to affect people. So, when you're in good shape, you are more effective to take care of the people around you. So there's nothing wrong with taking time to do self-care. So this is something like I have to go back to sometimes, as I notice, oh, you know what, I shouldn't let that boundary go. I'm letting that boundary go, and I have to reset those boundaries in my life and be okay with, I can say no, and somebody might get upset, and that's not my problem. I know I got to take care of myself and my family first, or I'm not going to be good for my clients or the other people in my life that depend on me. And just a couple things about stress too, is it also is a big contributor to cardiovascular disease. And like I said, weight gain is a big reason. This last year in COVID, I can't tell you how many people have been coming in and saying, when did you put the weight on? 30 pounds, COVID. One of my online clients decided to stop during COVID. And I'll tell you what, this woman's a ball of stress. She works about 80 hours a week, takes on everything. In my opinion, doesn't have great boundary issues because she takes on a lot of people's problems. She put on 60 pounds over COVID. 60 pounds. She stopped doing online training right after COVID started because she was working at one of the hospitals here. And she's like, I'm just so overwhelmed and all this. And she quit exercising. And then she's a stress eater on top of that, because you got that cortisol, which drives that hunger and stress. And she finally came back because she got to the point where I'm in really bad shape. And 60 pounds later, that's how powerful that can be. And that's all from stress. Cause I know this, I've worked with this person for a long time, and the stress is what drives her bad eating habits. She knows what she needs to do. She knows. So it's important to have a management plan of stress. It doesn't mean you have to use everything I showed you. And I did just a couple tools I use, but I do think one of the biggest things is having a purpose-filled life, is just figuring out what's your purpose every day. Your purpose is every day isn't to go out and work your butt off and kill yourself. And also to prioritize what are the things that I need to do that are going to make are going to have the most impact each and every day, instead of just reacting to everything and having a big list of busy work without prioritizing that, And we're really good at making lists, but we're not really good at prioritizing lists. So those are a couple takeaway things. I can send out these daily action sheets in the brain dump for people. And you just tweak this daily action sheet to make it work for you. You can see all my stuff on there. Obviously, you're not going to probably do ID reach outs or client programming, but you might have some other things you need to do for your work, different categories, but it's a good template you can use. And I like to write these out every week and kind of look at my week, like what's realistic. Can I actually do this or not? And that's the other thing, is sometimes we pack 12 hours of activity when we only have 8. So really being realistic and building in what's called buffer time, meaning that I've got hours during the week where those are catch-up times. So it's miscellaneous time I can use to catch up on things I didn't get done during other times of the day, and blocking specific times also in your schedule to work on things that are your high priorities, whether it be, like for me, a marketing task or client programming. Those things are really important in my business. So I blocked specific time to do those things. And that time is dedicated to that and that only. And I don't let multitasking creep in. I know people hear multitasking, but you're better off knocking one thing out than moving the next thing instead of trying to do 3 things at once. I can just tell you, I'm a business owner, when trying to get things done, I've done it both ways, and multitasking doesn't work. And it just creates more stress. So those are what I got for you tonight. Any questions, comments before we wrap this up?
You were talking, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, you were talking about something ZMA. What is the A part?
Asparic acid.
Zinc net. Pardon me?
Asparic acid. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you have an Advocare account, just grab nighttime recovery.
Okay, I've got that.
Yeah.
Is that
That's a great one.
Is that a good one?
That's an awesome product. Yeah.
Okay, because
One
you
of my
mentioned you
favorites.
had some others. Okay. Yeah, I've got
You might
sleep
have some funky
problems.
dreams, but you definitely sleep deeper with that. I think that's just my opinion. I mean,
Okay, well, I can try it.
Worth trying though if you feel like you're just having a hard time falling asleep at night.
I have a hard time staying asleep.
Yeah, but it does. It helps you sleep deeper. I think it's a better quality
Okay.
sleep too. So it's
Okay.
worth a try, since it's pretty inexpensive supplement too. So
Okay, I'll try it. Thank you.
anybody else?
I can send those things out on the Saturday email, those handouts. I have an action plan too that I kind of took from this and made my own, so I can send that out to if you want them just to go out Saturday.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, just get a couple.
Does that
different
work?
ideas. Yeah.
So it's in one email.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
the bottom line is you're not going to follow this to a T. Like there's some days when I have things, it doesn't always go, but at least you have a game plan. I think that's what the biggest thing with people is, they just go into each day without a plan. And it doesn't mean the plan's going to work perfectly, but at least you have a focus and a purpose to your days, and your days don't seem as stressful. You just are able to kind of tune stuff out. And especially this day and age, you've got all this different noises and everything coming at you. It just helps you to like stay focused on what really matters. And when you get done, even of a long day like today, when I got the things done that mattered the most, even though I didn't get everything done on my list, it just feels like it feels like you feel kind of like rewarded, like, if you're more filled up than if you're just doing a bunch of busy work and you kind of go, what did I do today? All I did was jump from putting out this fire to that fire, this meaningless task to this meaningless task. And I didn't get my workout in. I didn't get any time with my family. And I let all this busy work get in the way. And that's at the end of the day where you feel like you're just shot. But I can tell you, like last Monday, I had a really great day where I came into my business here. Mondays are typically a long day. Got to encourage a couple people that were having a tough time, got to pray with them, got to, there was like 3 things that happened that day where it was like, this is why I do what I do. And it was a long day. I think it started at 5 a.m. and I think I got home at like 8 that night after it was all said and done. But when the smoke cleared at the end of the day, I still had energy because the day was lined up with my purpose. So it didn't feel as stressful. It felt like the activities I did, even though they were, they consumed time and energy, it was energy well spent versus, you know, you just grind stuff out. And at the end of the day, what did I really accomplish today? Nothing, you know? So that's one of the ways to really combat stress. And when you don't have a purpose, it's like every day, like I hear people talk about their jobs and it's just like every day is just like a survival mode day. Well, that's stress, you know, versus, okay, what can I do today that's going to make a difference in my life and other people around me, where at the end of the day, I'm going to feel like pretty accomplished. So that's my parting advice for you guys.
Okay, thank you.
All right, ladies. Well, I'm going to cut us off here. I know this is a good one though, but it's important. So the takeaway is have a sleep plan and a stress management plan so you can weather the storms of life. With that, I am going to end the meeting and let you guys get on this beautiful night.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
Bye-bye.